You know, there are a lot of lessons you can learn from sports that you can apply to your business and your SaaS company. I talked with Lucas Caneda. He's from UNIQORN Accelerator. He also works with Challenger X, and he's doing a lot of things in his businesses and helping SaaS businesses. He learned a lot of these things from his professional rugby career. So we talk about all that. We dive deep on what you can take from sports and apply to business. It is a lot of fun, this one.
Welcome to SaaS-Story in the Making, the podcast that features the people who made the software world what it is today and the leaders who are shaping the future of technology. Here's your host, Matt Wolach.
That's right. I am Matt. I am your host. This is SaaS-Story in the Making. Really, really glad to have you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We've got some great stuff today. I am talking with Lucas Caneda. He is here with us live from France. Lucas, how you doing?
Hey, Matt. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me at your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you here as well. Let me tell you all about Lucas. He is the global team lead for UNIQORN Incubator. This is the largest rural tech incubator accelerator in the world. They're doing some great things, helping a lot of startups get even better than they are. He's also the director of Challenger X, which is a B2B SaaS company turning Davids into Goliaths through digital and traditional marketing. They help amateur sports clubs radically improve revenues and profitability. Love that. He's also a professional rugby player, so he's a lot tougher than me. He's won multiple Argentinian championships in his home country. Super exciting. I can't wait to talk about that as well. So, Lucas, once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Matt. That's a great introduction. I don't think I can say anything else apart from that. I mean, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, tell me, what's going on lately with you and what's coming up?
So we've started our rugby trainings last week. We're pretty much into preseason today. So getting tired, getting those fitness sessions done early in the morning, late at night, and also jiggling with work, which is my second passion. And that's what keeps me going too. And actually that I really enjoy having this duality, as I like to say, of being a businessman and a professional athlete at the same time. I think it's a great opportunity, in fact, that to do both things at the same time, because there's first and foremost there's lots of connections between sports and business startups in this case. And yeah, so you can leverage both sides of the coin and actually put that together. And that's pretty interesting.
I totally agree. And I love that you said that there's connections in sports. For me, I played sports growing up. I love sports. I follow sports passionately. And I mean, for me, I talk about sales. I coach people on how to do sales better. I mean, the biggest one, obviously, is the competitive nature of sales with sports. And so I apply a lot of that towards how I help people, how I coach people. You've also got the leadership capabilities, the dealing with adversity. I think that the connections between sports and business are many, many. I think it's awesome that you're doing that. But I mean, that sounds like a lot going on. How do you juggle all of that? I mean, with the rugby and the tech stuff, and you've got a company. How is that all happening?
Well, unluckily for now, I did not find a way to make days longer than 24 hours. I would really... If you know that formula, just share with me afterwards. But again, I mean, it's just how much passion, how much efforts do we want to put into whatever we are doing? And since I love what I do, it's not a burden, right? So rugby in this case and business are my two passions. So I can working or training comes natural, and that's something that I'm grateful for, because I think most of the people around struggle to find that thing that drives them forward, that thing that they really love to do, and I have found too, and I'm actually doing both at the same time. So I'm very lucky. I'm very grateful, and so yeah, as soon as you're willing to do what it takes, to work the extra hours if you must, because sometimes that's the case. I don't think there's any problems. In fact, I think you actually take advantage from both sides, because you're able to disconnect a little bit from what you do, focus on other things, and sometimes that's what you need to come to a better idea of what you were doing before, a better way of approaching a client, for instance, or closing a deal if you're speaking about sales, which is great. I really loved a couple of the words that you've used, like being a competitor. I've always, or at least sometimes, encountered that, that feeling that sometimes people think that, okay, you don't need to win every single time. You don't need to be a competitor that much. And I completely disagree. I think that's what keeps me pushing, keeps me wanting to grow as an individual, as a person, and also as a business. And I think you need to have that in mind, that being a competitor actually drives you forward, I think. And I hate losing. That's just a fact. And I'm proud of it. I mean, I think I can use that to keep going. And I encourage people to follow that route, even if sometimes it brings, some discomfort. Because I remember back in the day when I was playing back home, sometimes I've lost games, we all did. And I didn't want to speak to anyone. I was so frustrated that we've lost, but I think that kept me going. That made me come back to training the other day and do some extras, do some more. And it's always how much more you can do to become better, to improve, that takes you to the next level.
I completely agree. So with my sales, that people have talked about it. At one point in 1 month, I sold 142 deals in 1 month, and
Wow.
it kind of was legend at our company, and it was a thing. People talked about those 142, but I kept thinking about the one that got away and the one that didn't close, that I was super frustrated and I couldn't believe it because it was perfect. But you're right. I went back and kind of analyzed, like, what could I have done? How could I have done things differently? How could I have approached it differently? What could I have messaged differently to them? And tried to figure out how to get better so I could improve even more in the future. And it helped. It definitely helped. So, I mean, I'm sure you faced adversity in your rugby career. How can you apply what you've learned there on the sports side into your tech career and what you're doing now?
That's a great question, and I think we've all faced adversity in sports, in life, in business, and I think it's the mentality that actually takes you away from that problem. Having a solution mentality, I would say. So, what am I going to do now to get this problem solved? And how am I going to proceed? So it's that mentality of, okay, there's something wrong, something happened. How do I approach this? And actually, how do you move forward instead of just staying at that situation where you've got, I don't know, I've got a very serious injury, for instance, back in 2014. I broke my knee, so 2 ligaments that were broken. My position requires me to run fast. A serious knee injury might be ending your career. I was not a professional player yet. It was my dream, but by that time, and actually, of course, I mean, I struggled for a bit, knowing that maybe it was the end. I don't know. Who knows, right? How do you recover? But instead of just staying at that feeling, I tried to change that attitude, that mentality, into a positive winning mentality. So, okay, I set myself very ambitious objectives. By the time I was going through surgery, I remember the games for the next season were coming out. and I realized that the first game that we were playing was roughly 6 months ahead, and it was against one of the best teams in Argentina. So I knew I wanted to be part of that game. I wouldn't like to miss that game. And I went to my coach, a really good friend of mine today, person I appreciate and respect very much, and asked him, because, before the season starts, you always have some exhibition games, right? And I approached him and told him, hey, listen, I'm getting surgery in this date. I know we start against this team. I really don't want to miss that game. How many exhibition games do you need me to play to put me on the first game, to make me start? At that day, I would say was one of the guys that played every single game. I was not very, I don't like speaking about myself saying I was very good, but I was. So usually I didn't miss a game, not because, not on regular circumstances. And the guy looked at me and said, if you want to play the first season game, you need to play all 3 exhibition games. I was like,
wow.
You're kidding me. That means I need to recover from surgery in 5 months and 1 week. And apparently that's not possible. I need between 6 months and 8. He said to me, if you want to play the first game, that's what you need to do. Like, shit. I need to do something to get there. Mm-hmm. So I set it up in my mind and I did everything I could to get there. And I don't know, but it sounds like a sacrifice maybe, but it's not, because when you really love what you do and when you give all your energy to it because you really want it, it feels natural. It feels like this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. And the good thing about this story is that 5 months and 1 week after, I remember as if it was today, strapping my knee to go into the pitch. And nobody could believe that I was actually coming back from a knee surgery so quick. Usually people take between 6 months and 8. Okay, I knew I didn't have that much time, so I had to work extra hours to do different things. And it worked. It doesn't always work, but this is the proof that sometimes it does. And it's again that mentality that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get you there. You don't get there by just luck. Sometimes you do, but I'm more, I would say I'd like to create my own luck. So put things in your favor, try to do what it takes to help that luck come to you. Of course, you always need a little touch, but if you don't help it out, it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I agree. What a fantastic story, Lucas. And one of the things that I relate to the business world is you set a goal. You had a specific date and a specific reason for wanting to get there, and you set it and you committed to it. And you started doing things that maybe you wouldn't have done previously if you didn't really have that goal. If it was 8 months away, you probably wouldn't have rehabbed the same way. So I love that you had a goal. You knew you had to get there. You set up what you needed to do. You made a plan, and then you stuck to the plan. You committed yourself. And I'm sure when you stepped out on the pitch for that game, it was probably a really emotional experience for you, as you said it was for your team.
Yeah, for sure. And for the plan, I think it's always crucial to have a plan. I always try to figure out a couple of plan B, C, D, because you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to change if something goes wrong, or if something proves to not be working as good as you thought, because sometimes we don't know that in advance. And coming back to the business world, especially to the startups, I would always suggest that you have a couple different plans, and you're able to adapt if you must, because sometimes that's the case. You're not always where you want to be, or where you you expect it to be at the beginning. Okay, but this is a good place to be anyways. Let's just figure out how do we move around it. It's not always set in stone, right? We need to be able to play a little bit around it, step outside of the box, get outside of our comfort zone. You call it the way you want to call it, but I mean that's something I always try to keep in mind.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I mean, such great experiences you've had. But I want to ask you, how did you go from a rugby career to a tech and SaaS career? What made you want to get involved with tech and SaaS?
I think it's that winning mentality, or that mentality that I always want something more. When I was back in Argentina, I wanted to become a professional player. So I knew I had to come to France to actually, not to France specifically, but a country that has professional rugby. Argentina didn't. So the opportunity came in France. I didn't hesitate. I mean, I flew all the way here, and I've been here for the past 5 to 6 years. And again, once I reached that goal, I did it. I loved it. But I said to myself, I should be doing something more. I mean, this is not enough, or I want something more, right? So I decided to study an online career for 2.5 years, which I finished. And once I finished, again, I had something missing, right? I want something more. So I continued to play professional rugby, which I continue to do today. But I said to myself, okay, I need to be, I love investing. I love business. I love tech. I love SaaS. Why not set yourself into more than you do today? Since I was younger, I had different, I was always an entrepreneur, I would say, smaller or bigger, but always that was always turning on my head, right? So I funded a company, catering, when I was back in Argentina. I had it for like 7 years. After that, I founded a shoe company with my wife, which we had for 2 years. Once we came to France, it all became a bit more complicated. But then I was very lucky again to meet Dom, our founder, the founder of UNIQORN Incubator. And his mind's just, I mean, he goes very, very quick, and I love what he does. And we connected right away. And that's how I started working with him together. And actually together just a couple of weeks ago, I think 4 to 6 weeks ago, we funded a new company, as you know, Challenger X, a SaaS company, the one that you talked before, trying to beat what's out there, actually turning small teams into big teams. That's why the reference to turning Davids into Goliaths. We're actually looking for small amateur, semi-professional teams that struggle. They struggle with their branding. They struggle with their sponsorships, merchandise, monetization. And we help them through marketing, through our contacts, and through what we've done already with our own club, to look exactly the same as a professional club and to make things as they do.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the whole objective of the company. And we've been actually contacted by clubs all over the world, no matter what sport they do, asking us, how do you do what you do? How can we be a part of? And that's what made the things a lot quicker than we expected. Because at the beginning, we were planning to launch Challenger X next year in 2022. But since there was so much demand, we said, okay, this is, we need to get a grab as quickly as we can, help the teams out there because they are struggling. I think COVID in that case made things more complicated to every amateur or small club. So we are here to help them out and to work with them into making them grow. because we think growth goes, I would say, side by side on the pitch and off the pitch. That's what we did in here internally. So we took Sala Rugby, our home club in here, under our management. So we consider it one of our startups, even though it's 118 years old. We think it faces the same struggles that any startup faces. So
Sure.
we took it in from the very basics. So we changed the logo. You can see it right now in here. The logo, it's impressive. We changed the name because the name that we had before, we come from the digital marketing space. And for me, there's two basic words that describe what we do and where do we do it. So Sala, the town that we live in, and rugby, the sport that we do. And those two words were not on the name that we had before.
Oh no.
So that's why this name,
Yeah.
this name change for us was so, it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And then
for
we
sure.
started to work it out into, for instance, website. When you looked at the website, it looked very basic, and I'm being very nice. So we knew we want to become a professional team. That's our objective. Okay, first and foremost, we need to look as one. We need to do what it takes. We need to put the efforts into it and make it look like any other professional team or better. So we took and redesigned the whole website. We currently have websites in 4 different languages. So we do French, English, Spanish, and German. I think even the professional clubs don't do as much.
Wow.
We had a problem with merchandise. So we were selling just a couple products, maybe products that were done a couple of years ago that still some people had a couple that kept selling. They were being sold only at the games. Well, this season we played only 2 or 3 games. How do you sell if there's no games? So we created an e-store on our website with all our products. We actually designed and produced over 25 different products ourselves that we currently have on our website being sold.
Wow.
And so that's for the digital side. On the physical side, people kept telling us that the only way to sell our stuff is ourselves. We didn't really trust that. So we went to the people that have stores in here in town and the surroundings. And today we have over 20 different stores that sell our stuff.
Awesome.
Because they're very interested. I mean, there's cool stuff and people are keen to buy them. Why not sell them? Things like that. And then we also stepped into sponsoring. There was sponsoring. It was done a bit the old-fashioned way. So I go to you, I ask you for money, and you get nothing in return. I don't think that's really sponsoring. I don't think that's a real partner. That relationship cannot go too far.
Nope.
If it's not a win-win situation, a deal that both parties benefit from, it's not going to go very far. So we changed it. So we did quite the opposite. Now we actually give more than what we receive from our sponsors in terms of media, in terms of coverage, in terms of eyeballs. That's what we bring to the table in exchange for this sponsorship. How? Well, we have 2 big things. So social media, we had roughly 1,500 followers on Facebook 9 months ago, and today we have 140K.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What a growth. Well, how did you do that?
Well, we've done it for different clients. Why not do it for ourselves?
Yeah, right? Exactly. So exactly.
That's what we do. That's where we come from. That's how do we focus. And again, people kept telling, yeah, but the town, it's only, we live at a town that's only 10,000 people live in here. You will never get that big. There's no mean, 1,500 is already very big for the town that you have. Okay, but I don't want to stay here just in Salah. I want Salah Rugby to be a brand that's all around the world. In fact, I'm talking to you in the US, even if you're not in Salah, right? And these connections can be done anywhere. So, in fact, today our community comes from everywhere, not just Salah, not just France, but everywhere. And
Very cool.
yeah, we're excited about it, and we expect to have at least 250K pretty soon too.
Amazing.
Thanks to our second point, or big point, I would say, that's we've signed 62 agreements, streaming, television, OTTs, agreements that we can actually, all the content that we will produce, all our games, once they are live next month, they will be transmitted all around the world thanks to these contracts that we've signed with these stations, with these mobile apps. And that's something, thinking outside the box. Again, you need to be able to, I mean, we are producing content every day. How do we get this content to the people that want to see what we are doing? How do we bring rugby to the people that don't know rugby? Okay, we're going to produce tutorials to explain them the rules, to show them what rugby is, to get them to understand what we do, because it's a beautiful sport. And we've done some research, in fact, about, for instance, how many people knew the rules of rugby in the US. The numbers were roughly 12%. So I'm sorry. Well, the MLR is growing pretty big, so it's not too bad.
Good.
And but we were thankful that was the case, because we are going to focus on the 88% that's missing, and we're going to bring rugby to them thanks to Salah Rugby. We're going to show them what we do and get them interested, get them to love what we do, build that community, and grow together. That's something that can be done.
That's amazing. I love what you're doing. That's super, super cool. And I think that mindset of, hey, we're amateur now, we want to be pro. So just thinking about how to get to that next level and what you need to do. And you really need to look like the next level. You need to make that show. You have to set up all the right processes. You have to set the structure. You have to make sure the branding and all of that. Getting yourself to look like the next level and be seen as, be viewed as by the market as that next level already can absolutely be applied to startups. Don't look like a startup. Look like a professional product, a professional organization, and people will trust you and believe in you. So many startups have a tough time earning that trust in the early days. And if you can show that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, give value, sharing the training of and the learning and education of how the sport works. Absolutely. I teach my clients, give value, share instructional and educational. Everything you're doing, Lucas, absolutely applies to startups. And I know we're running out of time here, but I want to know, what are some of the other best tips you would give to software leaders in our space, people listening to this show, software leaders getting started? What advice can you give to these early stage companies that they can take?
I think there's one big advice. It's bring solutions. So when you set up a startup or a company that's adding a new problem to an existing problem, that's definitely a bad sign. You need to be bringing solutions to the people that are going to use what you do, what you are producing, what you're making. Because if not, you're just adding a whole new problem instead of fixing them, and that's usually going to fail eventually. And that's one of the things that one of our models in here at UNIQORN is that fixing problems, not just, I mean, if there's a problem, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify it. So once you identify the problem, bring a solution. That's one thing that I would really encourage people to do.
I think it's fantastic. Absolutely be solution focused, and it's going to really, really play well for you. But Lucas, this has been really educational, really entertaining. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to make sure people learn more about you and Sarla and Challenger X and UNIQORN and all the things you're doing. So how best can our audience learn more about what you're doing?
I think the first way to contact me would be through LinkedIn. So just search me up. My name is Lucas Caneda. It's LUCASCANEDA. And the other option to look at what we are doing would be to go into our website for Challenger X. That's CXSports.io. All of our information is there, so feel free to go around it. And I'm available if you've got any questions.
That's awesome. And we'll put all of that into the notes, whether you're in the podcast or you're on YouTube. You'll see all of that in the description or in the notes. But Lucas, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate all you shared.
Thank you, Matt. I had a great time and I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it as well. And for everybody out there, make sure you're subscribing. You do not want to miss content like this. Everything Lucas shared is phenomenal and really going to help you in your business and getting rocking. Make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss out on anything future coming up. Please do that. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next time. Take care.